In your bag of tricks, one of the things that you need to have is one trick that is uh for my lack of vocabulary, that is dark. I think we call that our gorilla tactic. So before I let you in on this, I will tell you that it's something that we've used before as well, where I think around 2008 we're doing a campaign for a political party, and we were trying to raise awareness of a rally that, so this certain candidate would be in this certain area at a certain day to address the people, but because of the hostility around that in that area being referred to as a default ruling party zone that you can't be in, would send our guys, and they will put posters and say, so we've got posters all over the area that people would actually come, except that 2 hours after the posters are gone, you get a message that, oh, all those posters have been destroyed, they've been actually pulled down. You do that the next day, it doesn't happen. Until we said, okay, we need to pull out a trick that they can't understand what happened. And what we ended up doing is identify people in that community who are aligned to the cause, to say, listen, guys, we've got to pull something here. And they offered and say, you know what, let's spray paint our animals with the dead. Who's going to kill a cow for that? And what happens is when the cows go out for pastures in the morning, they get mixed up. You can't tell whose cow it is, but people are reading the message on a cow that this candidate is coming to your area to address you. And there's nothing much people can do then, because you also then can't destroy animals that belong to the other party that you're trying to appeal to vote for you. So there we are, and we had to pull that one out. So on the How Far campaign, we knew very well that these billboards are going to cause havoc, and we knew very well that if we try and get approval from the city authorities about the billboards, they will grow cold feet. So what we did is we created one billboard that spoke to the How Far campaign, that had a question that was so general, and say, this is what we're doing, we're throwing in these billboards, and we got the approval. But for us to do it, we had to channel our attention to the launch that was happening at an event in Harare. And while people were at that event, and while the system and the security sector was looking at what are these guys really doing, boom, all the billboards are up at the same time. And it's something you can't beat. And when they tried to do that, the moment they bent one billboard, it even just started trending more than what what we had actually anticipated. So you need to have a tactic of some sort that throws people off the balance.
Yes, yes. And one of the other lessons that we learned, and that you could learn in activating your campaign, is the counter-narrative research that you have to do. As soon as you activate your campaign, there is going to be a lot of responses that will come, and you have to be prepared for them. So you must be able to anticipate, I would say, your trolls, mistakes, and efforts to decapitate your campaign. And how are you going to respond to that, so that you are not sidetracked, or you're actually immobilized to a point where your campaign becomes irrelevant. So a counter narrative research is very important. When we launched and How Far campaign was trending, one of the big things that then happened was that we saw a lot of counter narratives and counter campaigns or hashtag campaigns going on. There was the this far, there was the so far, there was 5 more years. There were so many of them that were coming, and we had to deal with those because they were giving us maybe part of the answers, which is responses to us, where you just shoved down in terms of responses. You're asking about Wange thermal power station. This is what we have done. You're asking about this dam. This is what we have done. But we had to go further in terms of probing. So counter-narrative research is very important, and it takes some groundwork. There is a lot of groundwork that has to happen in anticipating the mistakes, the decapitation efforts that your counterpart or the other party is going to take in terms of driving your campaign the other way and not the route that that you wanted to take it. So a lot of groundwork had to actually take place. And what actually happens then under the wood is what facilitates a seamless activation, because your activation can just face so much storm that it cannot move if you're not prepared of what your other party is going to do. The guerrilla tactic that we have spoken about, what is it that you're going to do if you realize that your billboards are being banned, they're being defaced? We had to ensure that as soon as billboard is defaced, we have to replace it. We have to have a team that is on the ground to ensure that at the very most 4 hours or 24 hours, that billboard must be back up in place. So it also takes disaster preparedness that you have to factor in your activation plan, in your activation processes. So disaster preparedness is very important in any campaign that you have to run. So it has to do with, of course, the collateral and all the, the property that you have that you have to take care of. But it also has to do with human security, even at activation processes. At the beginning, we spoke about people being arrested in Bindura in parts of Mashonaland West, trying to put up our billboards. You have to deal with all those issues at activation point, because if you cannot put up that billboard, it means your activation is going to be derailed and disturbed and disrupted in the process. So it's a whole lot of issues that you have to prepare for in your activation processes. But the biggest and underlying factor and common denominator is that you have to be prepared for you to activate, and it has to be high pitched in a level that it has got traction, it has got connection, and it can self-drive itself as a campaign.